Is school a waste of time?
It's time to begin. I am Ibiki Morino, your proctor, and from this moment, your worst enemy. Now, if we're ready, we'll proceed to the first stage of the tuning exam. Hand over your paperwork. We'll start the written test once you're all seated.
The what? Did he say written? No! Not a written test, no way!
The other night, I was trying to think about what I can remember from school and what was actually useful, and I really struggled to think of even one thing, which led me down a path of questioning, was school actually useful to me on an individual level? When I started to look back at my school life and try to recount what I learned, experiences I had, I came to the realization that I actually left each stage of schooling with more trauma than education.
I don't even know where the others are sitting. I'm all alone. This is already a disaster.
Tough luck for Naruto. Written exams are definitely not his strong point.
How the hell did I manage to go from primary school to college without being diagnosed with learning difficulties? Is it that the system didn't have the resources, or is it that the people just didn't give a So disclaimer, a bunch of people are gonna come running with, oh, he's playing the race card, victim mentality. By the way, if you create victims, you create victim mentalities. Side note. Looking like I look, coming from where I come from, well, if you don't know, I'm from England, from the more impoverished part of England, council estate. Public schooling was in what they called special measures at the time when I attended school, meaning basically the system was falling apart at the seams, right? Obviously, I faced certain boundaries and difficulties based on my colour and how people were perceived back in the 90s and early 2000s, black people particularly, and how teachers were trained to interact with us, right? Both by the system and by their own biases coming from wherever they come from. Now, I'm not even going to talk about that part of my school life, right? Because that is definitely a thing, right? Black kids, particularly black boys, are over-policed on the streets and in the school system, from talking to the way your hair is when you come to school, right? But we'll leave that to one side. Let's not harp on about that. That being said, could that be one of the reasons why teachers didn't actually make the effort to observe and see if I had any difficulties during school? Or was it the fact that I was so ignorant and hard-headed that I just managed to somehow mask my learning difficulties in my whole school life? It makes you wonder, right?
Oh man, this doesn't look good. He's just sitting there. He's gonna choke.
What am I worried about? It's just a test. I've done a lot harder things. Believe it. All I've got to do is just relax and take my time. Just read through all the questions and find the ones I have a chance of answering. No pressure. Okay, number 1. Oh, I see. I've got to decipher a code. Okay. Okay, forget that one. What's next? Okay, skip that one. Next. Forget it. This is hopeless. What am I gonna do? What'll I do? What'll I do? What'll I do? What'll I do? Ah!
Aside from that, you have a whole part of school that is designed around behavior. Literally making sure people fit a certain mold and they don't break it. If you show certain traits at a young age, you're considered disruptive. You have bad behavior, you don't listen, you don't follow orders, you don't fit in.
Why am I so different? Why am I always...
Naruto, stop that! What are you doing?
I worked so hard to get here, pushing myself until it hurt. Training alone for hours, anything to get stronger, to reach my dream.
Now, as a kid, you get penalized for that, right? And it feels like a very bad thing. Like, is there something wrong with me? But the older you get, you start to realize, oh, actually, that is not a bad thing. That's actually a really good sign. Why is that a really good sign? 1, your actual individuality. You are actually yourself as much as you can be. Now, there might be some negative aspects to yourself. Who doesn't have some negative aspects? But you're not just another name, another number, another mold. 2, you actually push back and make your opinion known when you disagree with something. That is a good sign of critical thinking, not just going along because you're told to. And 3, you're gonna need that standoutness, that willingness to break the mold and go against the grain in order to actually succeed in the real world. Even though I'm conflicted about the idea of school being a complete waste of time, I have a couple ideas or theories and suspicion on why that may have been the case in my anecdotal experience. Most schools mess kids up from the earliest important stages in their life. That's like preschool, primary school, junior school. They get those years wrong. If you're mistreated, penalized unfairly, or not even explained things to correctly, you will suffer later in life. That is the easiest time in your life to actually learn. And if you're not prepared correctly during that time, you won't even want to be in school. You will not even have the will to go on in the school system if those 3 parts of your schooling career are done incorrectly.
Isn't he that boy? I think so. That's him, isn't it? Huh? That boy gives me the creeps.
Hey, you see him? Don't play with that kid. You never know what he's gonna do.
There it is again. I don't understand it. Everybody, even you, my own teacher. Why does everybody look at me like that all of the time? I'm not just a nuisance or some kind of germ, I'm a person too! I am! I'm Naruto Uzumaki, don't forget it!
Naruto.
That's it, I'm done. I'll never go back to the academy again!
No, wait!
One of the main problems I found when I started to look back on my own school life is that school put way too much emphasis on retaining information and recalling information rather than actually understanding and interacting with the subject matter at hand. For what it's worth, a test result means nothing in comparison to actually having a solid foundation of knowledge around the subject matter. And why I think students particularly get messed over from them first early years of school is because that is when you learn the basics. And when I started to think about what I can remember from school, high school was useless. The basics weren't even reaffirmed and re-established. The basics I use today all come from that period of time in junior school. And I think back and I think how much of that was actually learned in school or at home? If the basics aren't taught to you in a way you understand, you cannot succeed in the system the way it's been established because it's designed to work around this particular curriculum in the first place, right? Basic command of English, basic command of mathematics. One of the biggest problems with the school system when I attended school was that it worked on this one size fits all kind of mentality. The class is taught the subject matter at one level, but the teacher never observes the students enough to understand that every student doesn't have command of what is being taught yet, and they just move on. Now with this ideology, so many people get left behind in the system, and that is problematic for massive amounts of their schooling life. Imagine if that happens, let's say 1 term out of your whole school life, you're behind in every class. That has a knock-on effect, and that adds up and that stacks on, and you're forever behind playing catch up. You cannot achieve what you're expected to achieve in that way. Now it's sad that I have to say this, but I think it needs to be said. I know I'm going to get some flack for saying it, but most teachers are actually really bad at doing their jobs. I'm sorry to say, it's a similar conversation that could be had when you start talking about parenting too. Most parents are actually bad at being parents. It's not something you innately have. Like, great mothers and fathers aren't just made, they learn, they study, and they become that. Same thing with great teachers. The problem we have is people have this ideology of just throwing money at teachers and that'll fix it. But what that really does is attract unscrupulous people to the job because they come for the money. Now, of course, teachers don't actually get paid that much, which is one of the arguments. But the question is, if your concern is economics primarily, why the hell would you get into teaching in the first place, right? That's something to consider. But the other problem is, you gotta remember teachers are humans too, and they also graduated from the same effed up school system that we are in at this time. So their understanding of education and how education should be shared or imparted to students is quite fractured, to say the least.
Everyone, eyes front. There are a few rules you need to be aware of. And I won't answer any questions, so you better pay attention the first time around.
No questions? What kind of rules are these?
So think about it from this point of view. If you're a millennial or an older person, let's say you're in your 30s, 40s, right? Maybe even 50s. Think about all the people you went to school with. Now think, some of those people you went to school with are actually teachers and are teaching your children or your children's children at this point in time. You think back to them and how they actually are as human beings, and you think, I don't think this guy or this girl should be teaching anybody, right? I can still communicate with this person. I'm on the same kind of social stratosphere level as this person. And I look at what they're like in their personal life and the things they think and their ideologies and the way they behave. And you can clearly see this is not a good fit for this person to be a teacher. But our teaching system or our school system is full of those people. People that thought, oh, do you know what? I'm not a specialist in anything. I haven't really got any real interest in anything. So I'm good at school because I'm good at retention and recalling information. So let me become a teacher by going through the same system, checking the boxes and then arriving to teach our kids kind of thing. And that is not good. Now, of course, amongst them shitty teachers, there are some really brilliant ones, but they are the minority. not the majority, which is really unfortunate. And the thing is, those people that are the really brilliant teachers are a finite resource, but they're the product of parents and teachers that actually care too, right? So it's kind of like a self-perpetuating cycle. You have to learn how to learn, but you also have to learn how to teach. Now, of course, a system like VARC has its critics and its pushback, but it's obvious that people learn in different ways and in different styles. And the same thing could be said for teaching. Teaching has different styles. There is also no one size fits all for teaching, because it's down to the individual, how the individual understands information and how well they're able to convey that information to a child. That is really important. Quality, we need better teachers, we need better screening for people that are more appropriate for teaching than others. The school system is like a factory press. It's like a bunch of molds. You either fit into them or you don't. And if you don't fit into them, you get discarded. Now, I understand some people have the ideology of save the good kids. Take the good kids and separate them and put them in the class and just make sure they become the perfect students kind of thing. Fine. But what about everyone else that gets left behind? When I went to school, the class system was literally like the class system. I know this is a bit woo-woo, right? One side of the school was from a postcode which was more financially stable, and the other side of the school was from a postcode which wasn't, right? So one half of the school was all of us estate kids, and the other half of the school was more of the richer areas, right? Upper class, middle class areas. When you start looking at how the classes were set up on each subject, the classes were set up based on test results and behavior. Your test results meets the higher class, but your behavior puts you in the lower class, right? How the hell does that even work? Now, of course, I'm not a teacher, so I can't really speak on it because I don't really know, right? But I experienced the school system, so I'm speaking anecdotally, right? Keep that in mind. Like I said earlier on, this idea of behavior also comes with learning difficulties. There's a reason you aren't able to focus in certain circumstances. There are reasons that you aren't able to retain information. There are reasons you aren't able to understand certain things. Now, VARC may be used to plug holes and say, oh, actually, kid can't pay attention, so he's X learning style, right? Kid can't listen, so he's X learning style. Yeah, that's a part of it, and it could be a flaw in the system, but it's also a matter of screening properly.
We will now sort you into your respective dorms. Place your hand on the unicorn's horn and summon your power. Then, it will read your mind and select the dorm that will suit you best.
What a bizarre child! He thinks only of cream puffs. Is there nothing else in his head?
One of the things that I think could really transform our education system is mandatory screening for learning difficulties at every phase of school. So that's primary, junior, high school, college, because people show signs at different times, and some students are really good at masking their difficulties and struggling through without ever saying anything. Picking that up as early as possible means you can tailor the child's experience in school to help them understand and actually retain the knowledge you're trying to teach them. The one size fits all thing is understandable with the way the school used to work and how things were set up around industrialism and work and all that. We get it, we got it down and it's good to go, but it's broken now in 2025. We're not focused on industrialism anymore. Like, not all the students in our classes are going to end up inside of a factory. The world is changing, the future is changing. And another thing that might help with that is integrating AI into the school system. Now, I know at this point in history, there is like a big technophobia kind of, dystopian future thing bubbling. Like, people watch too much movies and things, they think all technology is the enemy. But the problem is what students are saying and what teachers are saying is in the schooling system, from high school to university level, students are using things like ChatGPT to actually cheat the system.
He's not actually forbidding us from cheating. He's expecting us to. He's daring us to try and cheat and not get caught. Only exceptional shinobi could get away with it under these circumstances, and that's just what he's looking for. I wonder how many of the others have realized that's what this test is all about. Come on, Naruto. You can figure it out. Use your head before it's too late. Use your head.
This is bad. This is bad.
Understood, that is a problem. But the real problem is if the curriculum is so simple and useless that you can simply just plug a ChatGPT bot into it and have it regurgitate the information you want it to regurgitate, how important and useful is that information to the student's life? Now, am I saying every test should be a verbal test and a practical test? No, not necessarily. But if you integrate AI into the schooling system, you can also help plug those skill gaps between the teacher's ability to teach each individual student and the student's individual nature of learning. Why and how? Like we just said about screening the difficulties in learning, AI can help plug that need to be able to show data in different ways. For instance, if you struggle with maths or if you struggle with English or any particular topic, you can talk to a chatbot and ask them to explain things in different ways, and they can do it like that. Whereas a teacher may not be able to do that one and may not have the time to actually do that. So if you integrate these tools, technology-wise, you can actually help plug that skill gap in both the student and the teacher's ability to teach. If you want better outcomes, you have to improve the inputs, but nothing can be improved without measuring it. One of the biggest inputs in order to get really good education is training teachers, right? Seriously, if you don't want to replace them all with robots, you need to be able to train them. And one of the things you have to train them on is their subconscious biases. Now, of course, it's a lot to ask of a person that's doing a job that doesn't pay that much to go and learn so much things, but it's important to the whole idea of what schooling is supposed to be. You're supposed to have a good command of psychology. You're supposed to understand behavior. You're supposed to understand the subject in and out so you can explain it in various different ways.
I'm Naruto Uzumaki's homeroom teacher. Really? I went to ask the third Hokage to relieve me from my assignment, but he wouldn't see me. Truth is, I don't have any idea how to deal with that boy. Nothing works. I don't know why the Hokage thought I was the right person for this. I'm just not qualified to teach a kid like Naruto.
I see. That's why you look lifeless.
What?
There's no spark in your eyes. Your eyes had a spark back then. Now they're lifeless. Perhaps you've forgotten a basic rule of teaching. You cannot open the mind of another unless you have an open mind yourself.
The days of simply just looking at the curriculum and delivering what's on the lesson plan are pretty much over, because AI can do that, and kids, like we just finished discussing, haven't even got the attention span to do it the old way, knowing that those outcomes aren't even beneficial to them. What is the incentive for the child to sit through the nonsense lesson plan this day? I think one of the biggest components to helping teachers do their job is putting a cap on the amount of students that can be in the class at any given time. Smaller classes produce better outcomes. Now, how you go about this, it really depends. Sometimes it may be more funding to get more classrooms or extra teachers for the actual class. You have a main teacher teaching the same subject or teaching various subjects to the same set of kids. Then you have an additional teacher to come in, offer support and take out kids that need the extra support and teach them the subject more thoroughly. There's various ways to approach this, but there's so much data to show that smaller classes produce better outcome. You know why? Because then information can be tailored to the individual, and the individual's needs can be better observed and assessed. So you have to help teachers do their job too. And additionally, not just teachers need help doing their jobs, parents need help doing their jobs. So parents need to know what skill gaps they can fill with information at home, what kind of study routines they need to implement, what kind of ways do their children learn best. They need to know this information. That's how you get a cohesive community or village of people actually raising the kids to be the next geniuses or the next whatever, you know? It's not a one person effort, it's not a singular person effort, and even the effort of the child is important. You have to give the child an incentive to actually do what you're asking them to do, because remember, they're human too. And as Kanye once said, listen to the kids, bro. Another thing I realized when I started looking back at my own school career is that specifically in high school, the school itself didn't follow the findings, it followed the fundings. I'll say that again. Follow the findings, not the funding. The high school I went to had various different donations and charities giving money to it for particular interest groups, right? Some were governmental, some were community, and some were like, you know, politics and stuff like that, right? Those people on the school board as well put pressure on the teachers and the head teachers around the curriculum. They had to kind of bend and compromise to where the money is coming from. If the money's coming from these people, they want to see this, so we kind of have to appease them. Public school systems shouldn't work like that. Private school systems I kind of get, but on a public level, it's iffy at best. You can see the politics shift, right? As an adult looking back, it's like, oh, this was done in the interest of these people, you know? This wasn't done in our interest as students, it was done to appease these people. Now, I'm not going to be too specific on that because again, that's politics and we're not really talking about politics per se here. But that is something that is a real problem in our schooling system. Following the funding and not the findings. What are the findings? The research that is actually done, learning styles, how schools best work, right? What students prefer what. Follow the findings, not the funding. Again, I'm super conflicted about this because as much as my own anecdotal experience is pointing in the direction of actually this was a huge waste of my time in life, I still have to acknowledge the importance of the school system and getting a standardized education in order to perform as a citizen in your country, so to speak.
I've thoroughly gone over the second exam reports that we received from the SAND. And Hinata, Shino, Kiba, Choji, Ino, and Sakura, you 6 passed with flying colors and are promoted to Chunin. Finally, even though they weren't able to collect both of the scrolls, they performed admirably and they are more than qualified for promotion. Lee and Tenten, you are now Chunin.
Lady Tsunade, Team Kai is one for all for one. So how can Neji be left out?
He's finished. Neji Hyuga is given a special double promotion and will become a Jonin. The Kazekage himself said that Neji's performance was most impressive, and that is reflected in this report.
I think there are some really good key reasons why school still needs to exist, and we're not even going to focus on the education aspect of it, because again, education is simply about what's in the curriculum, retaining information and recalling information per se, a standardized education to get you through certain tests, to get you through certain doors, right? So that's understood. That needs a lot of work, and there's experts working on that now. But I will say this, besides the fact of school being a place where parents could just dump their kids and go work and put money into the system, school is also a very important place for children to be, especially if they're coming from an impoverished background or they're having some home life difficulties. School is the place to be in terms of getting away from that or escaping that. Things like school dinners, right? Things like just having an adult actually pay attention to you as an individual where you may not be getting that at home.
Naruto, come here a minute. I've got something I want to give you. Okay, you can open your eyes now. Congratulations. You graduate.
Iruka-sensei!
Socialization is one of the most important parts of school in the first place. Meeting new people, understanding new cultures. You could just be homeschooled and just bang out the test like excellent, like lots of people are. But socialization is one of the key points of going to school in the first place. School also provides kids who are academically gifted a chance to actually excel in what they're best at. So it's important for kids like that to have an environment to actually thrive and do what they are best at. Where all kids may not be like that, the few that are deserve a place to be able to champion their skills.
Line B in the diagram indicates the trajectory of a shuriken thrown at enemy C by Ninja A seated atop a tree 7 meters tall. Describe and formulate the trajectory required if C were positioned at points D, E, and F. Also predict the farthest possible range of the shuriken and explain how you arrived at your answer.
These are integrated problems based on principles of uncertainty and requiring complex mechanical energy analysis. Incredibly advanced stuff. Forget it. Naruto doesn't have a hope in hell of solving these. In fact, there can't be more than a handful of people here besides me who even understand it.
Another reason it's super important for kids to actually have a place to be, i.e. school, is because what would you be doing otherwise? Until you reach a certain age, you have no business trying to enter the work world. And to be honest, the way society is going, your manual labor will soon be kind of obsolete and pointless. So you need to be able to be a specialist in something. If they're not going to go to school, then they should at least be in some kind of vocational apprenticeship, learning skills in a trade or a special interest that they have. But another reason why they should be in school is so they can kind of pick up different interests and find out if this one fits, if that one fits. Because at home, you may be more inclined to be groomed into doing what your parents do or what your family members do. Like, dad works in construction, so I'm going to work in construction, right? Stuff like that. That's great if you have that kind of background and you can be ushered into a business, you can be ushered into a work environment through family, but most kids don't have that. So again, there needs to be a space or a buffer zone where you can learn new ideas that might be beneficial to your actual life path. So that's another reason why school is important. If I'm being honest and speaking anecdotally as I am, right, I'm not trying to say this is a one size fits all, ironically, like school does. The majority of what I learned, which is minimal because I'm not a very smart person in general, I actually learned outside of the school system. I learned by speaking to people. I learned by watching things on TV and on the internet. I learned by books. I learned by tutorials. I learned by trial and error. Now, I don't know it all and I never will know it all, but the important thing to actually understand about what I'm saying here is you have to learn how to learn. When you learn how to learn, you develop a hunger, a sort of drive to know and understand more. And that is when learning actually becomes a reality, like a real obtainable possible, achievable thing, even with learning difficulties. In life, there's no reason for you to think, I'm only allowed to do this, I'm only allowed to study this, I'm only allowed to be this person, right? That's not how the real world works. Learning is a lifelong pursuit. You have to love learning and finding out just how much you don't know. I love to say it on the stream all the time. I don't even know how much I don't know. Right? And that is the beauty of life. There's so much more to find out. So learning isn't about school. It's about you individually. As humans, we've achieved so much through history and will achieve so much more simply because people were able to understand abstract ideas and combine information from over here and over there and create something new. That takes place in the real world. School is a part of it. It's a stepping stone to it. But remember, ironically, Socrates never went to university to study philosophy. Consider that other people have different experiences in the world. This isn't to push this anti-intellectualism idea we're seeing online, because that is really foolish in all honesty. My point is simply this: acknowledging the issues in the system in order to fix them. If you don't say anything about the issues, you'll never be able to fix them. And I encourage anybody that's watching this right now who's still in school, whether it be junior school or college, to ask for help. If you don't understand something, now is the time to get comfortable and feel safe enough to ask for help.
Why are you doing this? Why are you skipping school and acting tough and getting in trouble? Because why? Because why, Grandpa? I want to know why, and I want to know right now.
Because I'm scared. I'm scared, okay?
Scared of what?
That I can't do it. That I'll fail.
You should have told me. I can help you. We can hit the books. We can do it. I promise. You can pass the 6th grade, Grandpa.
I don't know, short man. Oh, 6th grade is so tough and scary. And all those big words and numbers.
It's your dream, Grandpa.
My dream? A grade school diploma.
You want that diploma.
I want that diploma.
If you can't ask the adults around you, ask someone on the internet. Ask ChatGPT, Google. Don't be afraid to seek knowledge and fill the gaps in your understanding. Where you lack knowledge in something and information, it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Don't feel bad about what you don't know. Don't feel bad about what you don't understand. It's an opportunity to grow and learn something new. So ask for help. And to anyone that's watching that's got kids that might be thinking, what should I do? Get your kids screened for learning difficulties and find out where they're struggling. Observe their learning habits and tailor a curriculum to them. If you can do it at home, better. Don't expect the school to do it for you. It's your kid, it's their life that's at risk here. It's not, the school system doesn't care, right? Like many of us, they will just be left behind if they can't keep up with the standardization. So get them screened and find out if they have any learning difficulties, and then start to tailor your approach from there. People learn at different levels at different speeds, so understand that and approach education in that way. It's not a one size fits all thing. Sometimes you can take in all the information in the world, but it takes you to go out in the world and see a specific thing at a specific time for it all to snap and be like, oh, that's what all this was for. So don't expect everyone to get it straight away, and especially if you're someone doing the teaching, it's on you to get it right. If you get it wrong, acknowledge you got it wrong, apologize, and do something different to change it. Don't expect everyone to just be the same cookie cutter mold, like 2 + 2 = 4. Thanks, right? But how does that apply over here? All right, think about that. All of that being said, do I think school is a waste of time? No, I don't think it's a waste of time. Even with my own anecdotal bad experiences, the traumas I picked up from school, the lack of education I actually obtained, I still don't think school is a waste of time. I think it's very important and integral for people to actually understand that they can tailor their experience of education themselves. I want to see people lock in and achieve what they need to achieve as young as possible. Think about a career in STEM, where the future is going, technology is leading. Technology and creativity, those two things are going to be the most important things that you can have. Command of technology, that's coding, understanding mathematics and science, etc., technology, and creativity, the creative arts, or some even dub them the liberal arts, even things like political science and stuff like that. You should really get a good command of, because those things do matter and shape the world. Now, even though my point was about school, listen closely. School, from primary to high school, is basically remedial. It's not specialized education. Specialized education is the go-to, but in order to achieve specialized education, you do need a good level of understanding of the standardized subjects, as maths, English and science, and whatever extracurricular stuff your school does. So no, I don't think school is a waste of time. I think it's an important stepping stone to get you to where you want to go. But you need to be able to get the help you need to understand the basics while you're young, so you can get your foot in the door of a specialist trade. A specialist trade, specialist education is where you need to go. Yes, you can learn a lot in school, but you learn the majority of the things you'll need in life by seeking knowledge yourself. Don't let your schooling get in the way of your education. Right? Regardless of how old you are when you're watching this, you could be 10 or 60. It's never too late to learn something new.
Please.
I pass?
I'm as surprised as you are.
Congratulations, Phil!
Don't hug me.
Oh, okay.
Oh, what the heck? Come here, you.
You did it, Grandpa. You graduated.
Thanks to you, short man.
So what's next? You gonna try for your junior high and high school diploma?
High school? That's for losers. I don't have time for that anyway. I've got to run for president.
So use the internet wisely, read books, talk to people, and experience life. There's always something to learn, and there's always something to learn from everybody.
Well then, I admire your determination, if nothing else. For those of you remaining, there's only one thing left to do. And that's for me to tell you that you've all passed the first exam.
Huh? Hold on, what just happened? What do you mean we passed? Where's the 10th question?
There never was one, not a written one at least. Actually, your decision to stay was the answer to the 10th question.
Huh?